Okay, Pete, last few days of the window here, and we're still waiting for Everton to get some deals done. Carney Chukwuemeka is being offered to a lot of clubs on loan from Chelsea. Is he a player that Everton might bring in this window?
Yeah, he is a player that's on Everton's list. He's on the list of a number of clubs. Chukwuemeka, obviously, been a very difficult season for him so far. He's not really featured under Enzo Maresca. He's been part of the bomb squad almost at Chelsea this season. He hasn't featured in the Premier League. Only outings have come in European competition or the Carabao Cup as well. Look, Everton do need to add to that midfield department before the close of the window next Monday. Things have got worse with it, looking like Mangala has picked up a serious knee injury in that win at Brighton last weekend as well. So David Moyes was looking to add to his midfield before that injury. So yeah, it's real sort of key position now for them to strengthen in Chukwuemeka. Yeah, a good player. I think he showed in his early days at Chelsea that he is definitely a proven Premier League player, done very well under Thomas Tuchel and Graham Potter as well, but obviously doesn't fit the mould of what Enzo Maresca wants in his midfield. But it won't be a straightforward deal for Everton. It's quite complicated because they've already got four players on loans at the club as well, so one of those players would have to either become permanent or go back to their parent club to allow Everton to bring in that fourth loan in Chukwuemeka. Also the Armando Broja situation. You can't have two players from the same club as well, so maybe if Everton could cancel his loan and send him back, that would allow them to bring in Chukwuemeka. But as I said, you've got those complications, and also there's a lot of rival interest in the 21-year-old as well. There's reported interest from Juventus, Porto, Borussia Dortmund, and Chelsea's sister club Strasbourg could also be an option for him as well. So yeah, I think he's going to be one that obviously is on Everton's list, but it's not an easy deal to do right now.
And Paul, Kieran Dewsbury-Hall is another one in that Chelsea mix of players who could definitely leave that bomb squad, as we like to call it. Do you think he would be a better fit for what Everton might need, or is Carney Chukwuemeka the better fit?
Listen, Kieran Dewsbury was a top player. I'm surprised at the lack of football that he's actually had at Chelsea. I think obviously the manager knew him very well, brought him in, and as you say, he's part of that bomb squad. I think for Everton, I think it's going to be real exciting the last few days of the window. I really do. I mean, we've got the extra weekend, haven't we? It's not closed until the 3rd of February this time. And actually, I think players like Dewsbury-Hall, Chilwell, Chukwuemeka, there's going to be a lot of teams that are looking at Chelsea, looking at that second string, if you like, and there's a lot of players there, there's a lot of quality. And Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, for me, would fit into that Everton side the way that he plays, because he can play on either flank, he can play in the number 10 role, and I think he's a player that will add quality to that team. The positions that we know, we talk about week in and week out, don't we, that Everton are looking for, and that type of player would certainly enhance that in those areas for them.
And I guess this is a question for both of you, but to a player like Carney Chukwuemeka or Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, is the prospect of playing under David Moyes a little bit more exciting than the prospect of potentially having to have played under Sean Dyche and get to play, maybe under someone who's maybe a little less demanding? I don't know if that's the right word, but I think you guys know what I mean.
Yeah, he's a what would you call him, a luxury player at times, wouldn't you, Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, in a certain way, and he maybe wouldn't fit into Sean Dyche's system. You look at Jack Harrison, the way that he hasn't fitted in there, and you look at other players there, defensively they're set up very well, they're set up very organised. He's a player that would probably, it's not a criticism of Sean Dyche, it's just the way that he plays and the way that he sets teams up, but a player like Dewsbury-Hall you would expect would look better in a day. Listen, the David Moyes system is very much like what Sean Dyche does, but he just gives the players a little bit more freedom in certain areas. You look at the system, you look at the personnel, you can't go too far away from that because of the personnel that you've got, and until you change the personnel with players like Dewsbury-Hall, potentially, you're not going to go away from the tried and tested. But in Moyes' formation, you are going to be allowed to have a little bit more freedom, I think.
I think the key could be that obviously David Moyes previously tried to sign Dewsbury-Hall when he was at West Ham. He showed a bit of interest in the midfielder when he was at Leicester before he made that big money move to Chelsea, which obviously hasn't really worked out for either party. So that could maybe swing things for Dewsbury-Hall, that obviously David Moyes is a big admirer of him, and obviously if Moyes was to come back in from Everton, maybe that will sway Dewsbury-Hall to make that move to Goodison Park.
Where are they sat, Pete, Everton, with FFP and PSR? Are they able to do permanence, or would it just be a loan, or a loan with an obligation?
Yeah, I think probably looking at it, they have got a bit of money, not loads. Again, I think really loans is the way for Everton in this January window. I think they would like to bring in 3 new signings if they could. I think they'll probably be restricted maybe to 2. I think probably a midfielder and a striker are probably 2 priorities. There was talk of maybe bringing in another left back, but I think now Jake O'Brien's come in at right back and done really well in the last couple of games. then maybe they can shift Ashley Young over to the left back if needed as well, so he can provide cover there. So I don't think that's a priority position for them. So it's, yeah, getting those midfielder in a box to box one, obviously to replace Mangala, who looks like he's got a bad injury, and then obviously Calvert-Lewin is now sidelined, so a striker. So yeah, loan's probably the way forward for Everton in this window, with possible options to sign them on permanent, especially if they secure Premier League status, which I fully expect them to do as well.
The amount of teams looking for strikers in this window is frightening. I mean, everyone is looking for that number 9. Obviously, scouring Europe, but I mean, there's Everton. And we're going to talk about West Ham, the likes of Evan Ferguson, those type of players. Evan Ferguson's got to be linked to Everton as well. There's got to be an opportunity there. Maybe if he is allowed out on loan, he could be a player that would certainly make them better. But like you say, with Calvert-Lewin's injury, Beto, they're grossly overpaid for Beto. He's not done it at the top levels, not scored the goals. And without Calvert-Lewin, for all his flaws, for his injury record, and he hasn't scored enough goals in the last 2 or 3 years, but without him, they are going to have to go into the market, I feel.
Paul, if you were Evan Ferguson, where would you rank Everton in terms of kind of the clubs that are interested in him right now? Obviously, Brighton have made it super clear that they want him out on loan at the very least in this window. But no deal is done yet, and we're just a couple of days from the end of the window. So it may be up to Evan Ferguson to kind of find that right club.
Well, so long as he's playing, I think that's the important thing for him, is that he plays. I think with the new manager coming in at Brighton, his face hasn't fit for whatever reason. We know he's had his injury problems, but not long ago, listen, we were putting a 100 million price tag on this kid's head. We were talking 80, 90, 100 million, and now we're talking about potential loans to get him out and get him some games. So whoever gets him, I said this before, whoever gets him is going to get a top striker. He's a quality finisher, and he looks to me like, I don't know, but he looks to me like a striker who needs a run of games. All strikers like to know that they're playing every week. He's not one of these that's going to come off the bench and have an impact. If he's going to leave Brighton, he needs to go somewhere where he knows that he's going to start every week. He's got the opportunity to at Everton because of the injuries, but also at West Ham as well. You look at the injuries that they've got. Don't know when Jared Bowen's going to be back. Antonio, as we know, is going to be a long-term injury. Jared Bowen, we don't know. Fulkrug, he's a hamstring. He looks like he could be a while. So if he goes into Everton or West Ham, he knows he's almost going to play, and then it's up to him to keep the jersey when the rest of the players are fit again. It's difficult to pick, but Everton and West Ham, for me, they look like the most obvious fit for Evan Ferguson.
And Pete, is Hamza Igamane a possibility in this window for Everton in terms of an attacking signing that they could pry him away from Rangers?
I don't think he's a possibility for this window. Maybe in the summer. I don't see Rangers entertaining offers for Igamane in the last few remaining days of this window. He's a player that they are doing their homework on. They've scouted him quite intensely over the last few weeks. He's been in really good form for Rangers of late as well. I think he's got 9 goals in his last 11 games. He did quite well in that Europa League game against Manchester United as well, to show that he could handle it against Premier League opposition. But he's been the standout player for Rangers this season in a disappointing season for the Glasgow club. So I don't think Rangers would contemplate selling them now. But Philippe Clement has come out and admitted that he doesn't see him moving now, but probably in the future he does expect to lose the player, maybe to go and play at a higher level, whether that's Premier League or somewhere else. But yeah, look, he's a player that Everton are looking at. I don't think they'd have the finances to persuade Rangers to sell him in this window, so it's maybe one that they might revisit in the summer, and maybe come the summer Rangers might be more open to a deal for Igamane, and obviously then Everton might have the finances as part of the new takeover from the Freaking Group to maybe go and tempt the Scottish club into selling the Moroccan. But yeah, I think he'll remain at Rangers beyond the transfer window closing.
It's more likely that Dessers goes this window, and if anyone's going to go out of the Rangers strike force, it'll be Dessers. Saw Igamane last week at Old Trafford, really impressed with the way that he played. You know, the Manchester United defence, it's not the most difficult defence to play against at the moment, but he's up against De Ligt, Martinez, and I thought he dropped in deep. He put in a real shift. Rangers didn't have a lot of the ball in the first half, but he put in a real shift, worked hard as a proper centre forward, looked strong on the ball, kept the ball well for his team, and he's a player that I can see playing in the Premier League. He looks a really good player.
He reminds me of a street type footballer. He just loves the little skills. He likes the contact as well. But as I said, he's been a real standout player for Rangers.
Strong